Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Mork
season
and
Hello,
Nick
hello.
have the zoomies right now. So if at any point
Oh, fun.
something gets knocked over, I'm sorry. It's not my fault. It's also being psychos right now.
for our cats, for everyone who's listening.
I didn't know
Um,
cats got the zoomies, actually. I thought it was only dogs.
Oh yeah, they get the zoomies.
Cats go crazy.
Usually in the middle of the night they get the zoomies, but
Oh,
Or
you're
after
lucky
they
to
right.
go to
get
the
them during the
bathroom.
day.
Or after they eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why she has them right now, but she's being crazy. She's sticking her hand inside the speaker base thing
She's
again.
trying to get the sound out.
Oh my gosh.
Before we begin, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment on our posts. Interact with us. We miss you. Um, if you comment on Facebook, please be nice. If you comment on YouTube or wherever it's streaming live to us, we'd love to interact with you and answer your questions, life coaching related or otherwise. Did we have one last week? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Last episode, we talked about when self care feels like a chore. And
That was the one we
this
went
week-
off the rails on a bit.
Yeah, we went more crazy. It was fun though.
Yeah.
This week on Being Human, did I say too much? Navigating oversharing and vulnerability hangovers. So when you talk too much, when you share too much, when you blabber on and then you realize you put your foot in your mouth or you talk too much and you feel like a real jackwad, an embarrassed person. Have we been in that situation before?
Oh, yeah.
Oversharing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's like lots of context we can take this in. This is like the starting one, but absolutely, phone going off. I have been in that situation. So I mean, okay, let's talk about this really quick. We've got two things happening here. We're talking about oversharing, and then we're talking about this feeling of like the consequences of that vulnerability hangover. So let's tackle this first part. Let's talk about this oversharing piece. Like, why do people do that? Why? And
why do people overshare?
Yeah, why does that happen?
No filters. I'm not sure.
I can tell you why I do it.
Why do you do it, Jen?
I overtalk usually because I'm uncomfortable and I'm trying to fill space because I sense that if I don't do it, no one else will. That's usually so it's almost like an act of service to the person I'm interacting with or the group, but yet it ends up really doing damage because I just say the dumbest
generous
stuff.
of you.
What do you mean damage? What damage does it do?
You know, the most common frequent example of this for me is with my mother-in-law. I try to fill the space when I'm around her and I say just beyond stupid things. And sometimes I'll say things like jokingly about my husband, but she clearly doesn't take it that way. She takes it as like a dig at her son. And I'm like, oh my God. I was just joking. I love him. So that's where I cause harm. I don't think that if she were to just judge me based on my uncomfortable over talking and oversharing and those moments, her outlook on me would not be good.
I'm gonna share this video with I'm gonna find out how to get in contact with your mother-in-law and then send her this video.
Yeah. Right. I don't think she uses the internet, so we're good.
I'll mail it to her. I'll find a way. I'll hand deliver it to her.
I'll fly all the way there. So like, and that kind of sharing probably wouldn't lead to too much of a vulnerability hangover, right? I mean, maybe a little bit.
Do you tell us Jen does it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I feel overexposed. I feel judged. I feel embarrassed. I feel ashamed because I cannot figure out how to stop doing it. And I just like get really mad that I keep doing it. So
It does feel irritating when you let something out that you didn't intend to, and then it went on the wrong ears.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm what's interesting in this is like it sounds like you're sharing like with an intent to like connect, right? Like, and it's just not
Always.
it's not happening, you know. So like you're not getting it's like you're not getting a reciprocal. It almost feels like from my perspective that like from what I'm hearing that you're not getting something in return that's going to make you feel like you are getting that sort of either positive feedback or acceptance or understanding. In fact, you know, it seems to be like you're getting the opposite of that in those moments. Yeah.
For sure.
Well, yeah, I guess it wouldn't be an issue if the other person, in this case your mother-in-law, was receptive and open to it and just like maybe joked around with you too, or
Yeah, that would be great.
you probably wouldn't have thought about it as oversharing. It's dependent on the other person as well.
That's a really good point. Yes, if she were to respond in a way.
An airplane
Lisa?
flying over someone's house right now.
Not mine. I
Not
don't
mine.
think.
Thank you, Lisa.
It was Lisa, I think.
Lisa, sitting
Yeah,
at an airport right now.
If she were to reciprocate, I wouldn't feel the way I feel. A lot of it is based on just getting stared at, just having like no response or.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to do. I'm just like stunned every time it happens, and yet it keeps happening. And yeah, it feels super vulnerable because I don't know how to. I don't know how to connect with this person, and I really want to.
I was
really want to, yeah.
I was reading something. I don't know. I think it was something about young and relationships, or Erickson. I can't remember who it was that I was reading this snippet on, and whoever they were reporting from it mentioned that we look to others to create the relationships based on who we are and how we recognize ourselves in them. And what you're sharing is there's no recognition.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to guess, this person thinks I'm crazy and weird and doesn't get me at all and doesn't really want to talk to me based on the response. And yet I keep trying.
I think the other piece of this, though, that we need to talk about too is this person it's obviously this relationship is important to you. Like there is something about this relationship that is valuable and important to you. And so that's why you keep finding yourself in this situation over and over again. Whereas if it was someone that wasn't important to you or that wasn't going to be in your life, you could just go, okay, I don't ever have to talk to that person again. Or I don't have to, who cares, right? But
yeah.
You've got to keep going sort of back into this situation, and then it happens, and you have this feeling of what I don't know what to do. And I can see how that would be rough and frustrating, and lead to like probably questioning stuff about yourself and all of these things.
Yeah, all the time. I actually am a pretty decently confident person until I get around this person, and then I just crumble, just totally crumble. It's so weird. I
still want to like coach in this moment, but
we'll save that till the end. We'll just.
But no, I have coached on this topic.
Oh wow!
Many. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've never gotten anywhere.
What's interesting though, the good thing is or what's interesting about this is one example, right? I think there are other examples because I have
for sure
had moments where I overshared and I got a positive response. Like everybody was positive, everybody was nice, but then afterwards I still did that over analysis moment at home where I was like, oh God, maybe I shouldn't have said all that. Maybe I shouldn't, you know what I mean? And you know, what are they going to think? You know, maybe I shouldn't blurt these things out of my mouth, you know. And it's interesting too, because again, I think we have to think about it. What's coming up as we're talking about these moments is that we care about the people we are interacting with, and that's where this reflection comes from. In this case, I do want to talk more us to get deeper into the vulnerability hangovers and how they can appear in other spaces as well. But in this particular space, I think that that's an important piece. It's that we're caring about what the people we are talking to mean to us. And so we want to make a good impression. And so we get in and we overshare, and then we worry about it afterwards. It was interesting in some of the research I was doing, I was reading that one of the reasons, no, I cannot. One of the reasons that people overshare, and we can maybe explore other reasons, we've talked a little bit, is that they want to connect with somebody. Like they get into a situation and there's this need to connect. And a lot of times the oversharing happens from an individual who has been feeling very lonely. So like they have this sense of loneliness and disconnection from other people around them. And so they get into these social situations and they overshare in an attempt to connect. And sometimes it backfires where it's just too much, you know what I mean? And it's a lot. And then they end up feeling bad about it, and it becomes a thing. And in that moment, I thought of people who maybe have overshared with me, and I was like, whoa, that was a lot. But it made me empathize with them quite a bit, because maybe they're oversharing because they're in a space of just being very lonely and wanting to, or needing to have somebody to talk to.
I was about to say, like, what does it feel like to be on the receiving end of someone who overshares with you?
That is the thing. Sometimes if you're not prepared for it, like, especially if it's like a trauma dump moment, right? Like it can be like, oh, I don't know exactly. But if I don't have time, like I've had those moments where it was like, I have to go somewhere, and you are telling me your life story right now.
It's one of those situations.
I'm not interested, but how do I break out of this conversation because I have to be somewhere?
It's one of those situations where like you judge yourself by your intentions, but you judge others by their actions. And like when we're talking about like us oversharing, it's like we want to bridge the gap, we want to connect. We're like, you know, all these like sort of things that have to do with the emotional side of things. But when we're being overshared, we're like, geez, get a grip, like slow down.
Anthony, when have you overshared?
I mean, I overshare some. I feel like I overshare sometimes, but mostly because I'm like I think I'm a pretty circumspect and like prudent person when it comes to social interaction. Sometimes I know, Brooke, I act like a crazy person around your friends and my friends, but like even in those situations, sometimes too, I'm like thinking about what I'm saying and who's listening, and because some people overshare as well, and I'm aware if I tell someone something, they might tell someone else, and they might overshare things that I'm telling them. But I'm thinking about times where people have overshared to me, and I think I can tell. I think I'm honest enough where I can tell, like, oh, they're looking for a connection, but like I don't want that connection. One, I don't want to be connected with desperate people who need connections. Second of all, I know Brooke's shocked at that. I'm mostly saying that to shock her. Two, it's like I want to connect with people at my own pace. And when someone overshares with me, I take that as they're not being conscious of the other person they're talking to, or they're being selfish, or they are not playing a game of like tennis with me in the conversation.
How is this reflected with coaching though?
What do you mean?
So when we're coaching, we do have our clients share with us, and it can be
then if I'm a coach, I'm wide open then.
Yeah, it's
that's a whole different
situation.
Very different.
I'm wide
amazing
open.
how we can switch hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a completely different context where now I'm the coach. Lay it all on me. I want to know everything, as long as it's within the bounds of the session contract and goal, because then sometimes we've talked about this before, where clients maybe not overshare, but they've got a run-on sentence that's turning into a run-on paragraph, which is going into all sorts of different topics or directions. That's oversharing in a way where it's like we're not really even hitting on what the intent of the coaching session was today. And I'm not sure as the coach where you want to go. work on, or how this connects back. So maybe I'll ask some questions like, what you told me about X, Y, and Z, how does that connect back to the original goal? And if it's really disparate and not connected, I'll be like, well, it sounds like you want to work on this, but it also sounds like you want to work on this. Are they connected in some way, or do you want to take our session in a different direction? That might be one of the situations where I see oversharing coming into play.
We do that check-in with them, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think clients can overshare. But I do want to like pause this for 1 second and come back to this, because that vulnerability hangover part, I have like a personal experience and I want to share it later, and it's around coaching and having the vulnerability hangover and feeling that and feeling all of these feelings. But I mean, before we get there, we're talking about like us as humans oversharing, the reasons why we do that, all of that good stuff. And then what it's like as the recipient to feel that and get it, and sometimes feel a little sideswiped. That being said, with the right person, like with somebody I have a tremendous amount of trust with, or that I'm very close with, or I mean, most of them I think would always check in and ask, hey, do you have a second to talk with me? And then I would know, oh, I got to put my distracted hat down and my listening ear on. And then I'm going to sit down and they can open up and tell me anything. Right. And then that's the kind of relationship we have. And then, so there's an element of, as the receiver, that trust, right? If we have that trust and that safety net, we're not going to feel as vulnerability hangover, as worried about what we said and how we shared it. I think that it really is this space of insecurity coming from us, who we're speaking to, and how they're receiving it and what we want out of it, and whether we meant to do it or if it was an accident.
With the right
and I
person,
think that we want to extend ourselves grace, right, in that, if we can. Jerome?
I would say with the right person, wouldn't be classified as oversharing. It's not overdoing anything.
Yeah.
The appropriate amount of sharing.
Well, and that was one of the things. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to say, I think there's a difference with us sharing or oversharing versus what something Jen said earlier. I don't remember if it was on here or if it was on the other side, just to fill the space because we're nervous. That's not an oversharing to me. That is something anxiety induced versus sharing details that we might not have shared with somebody else.
One of the things that came up for me in this, and it's one of those things, because I have an oversharer in my life, that I would rather they did not overshare with me.
I know what you're talking about now.
And the reason for that is because it feels insincere to me. What they are sharing a lot of the times feels insincere. It doesn't feel truthful or like it's coming from, like, I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. And it just feels like there is just something off there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I wonder, Jen, if I relate that, and I'm not saying that you are not a sincere person, but I wonder if, because you're in that situation and feeling so uncomfortable, if your attempt to connect is coming from like an authentic Jen place, I'm sure it's authentic, but like the authentic you, who you are, if it's coming out and feeling sincere to her, or if it feels like you are sort of tap dancing around and trying to connect, and I could completely be wrong, I could be completely off, but it just came up.
If I had to guess, I would say she's getting 50-50. Like sometimes it probably feels forced, and other times it's sincere and I'm still not getting anything.
And you're still not getting anything. Like if you sat down and you went, I feel like we're just not connecting.
She would just stare at me.
That's so hard, man.
And for someone like me, it is torture. It is like she's like a teacher put in my path for a reason.
It's so funny.
Because I'm like, why don't you like me?
I think you should hold the silence back at her. Like, just say something and just stare hard back.
No, just don't say anything.
I can't do that.
Yeah, don't say anything.
Don't say anything. Let her be the one to initiate and stare at her.
She won't initiate. That's the thing.
You just
That's
don't.
why. So what am I supposed to do? Just sit
Oh.
there in silence with her?
I
That's
would
terrible.
probably ask, why are you wanting to have a relationship with someone who is just not interested in talking to you?
Because she's my mother-in-law.
So
That's the reason.
Does she
I
talk?
mean, then
Does she talk with other people?
Yes.
Yeah.
this sounds more of like a conversation for your husband. Then,
Oh, we've had this conversation
I was just like, at
many
that
a
point,
times.
just leave it. I don't know what to tell you, but we're getting in too specific right now. Jen's psyche. It's really interesting, though. I could do this all day.
This is interesting. I was reading up on something that suggested, not saying that your mother-in-law is a narcissist, Jen, but that is a response to a narcissistic relationship, and that's why people tend to overshare is recovery from that relationship, and then they'll hop onto another person, and then they'll feel safe there, and then they'll overshare, not necessarily knowing whether it's safe or not.
And
So-
I have a tendency to be attracted to narcissists, not like magnetically, like they get drawn into my life one way or another. And I think
Sure,
that's
that's
because
what you meant, Jen.
It's because you're empathetic.
Yeah, I was
that's
just
why.
going to say
Right,
empathy.
100% because you're empathetic. There's like a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
connection between
Yeah.
that.
exactly.
That's like you're the type of personality they look for, and so
Yes.
yeah.
I can fix you.
How, Jerome? How?
Well,
No, I'm
because-
saying that's the
No.
mental of an
Yeah,
empathetic
no, because
person.
they-
I get it.
they look at
right.
you and they go, "Oh, she's gonna give to me.
Mhm.
Yes.
She's gonna give me what I need."
I can overshare to
She's
her
gonna
whatever
give.
crazy
So I
stuff.
have to get her here and in my little thing so she can feed me. Essentially,
That is
Yeah.
true. The people who call, and bless their hearts, we love every single person who calls Certified Life Coach Institute.
We do.
But there are some people who tend to overshare when they're on the phone, and Jen is usually the unfortunate person to answer those calls.
But so, hold on a second. Yes, I do get a lot of oversharing calls, but some I really, really enjoy. I'm just going to be honest. I had one, was
That's
it
not
today or
oversharing.
yesterday? And it like literally moved me to tears. I'm not joking.
I've
Okay,
even
I was
I've
like
had
loving it.
the ones where too where like it started out with it, but then we ended like on a great note. I was like, yeah, that was a lot of there's a lot of sharing, but I still love the way it ended, and that was good. You know what I mean? For sure.
Yeah. But some
Um,
too, yes, there's I sense an oversharing because I'm the first person that is actually listening to them talk about what they're talking about without interjecting, interrupting, trying to tell them what to do
Oh my
or give an
goodness.
opinion. And so there's that.
And not to circle back to your mother-in-law, I bet like the coach in you too is like, maybe if I ask her interesting questions about herself,
And
or maybe if
I literally do that. I
and she gives you
try.
nothing. Oh
I
my
just need
God.
you to picture this. I go into like trying mode, like let me ask her questions about her life, and I get single word answers.
Mm.
What do I do with that? It's like I volley it over and she won't volley it back.
You
And
gotta
I
ask the
don't know what to
open-ended
do.
questions that don't have yes or no responses. I can't.
I know,
think
but
of-
somebody who
How
doesn't want
about
to talk.
how's
that's
this
like a-
going?
Maybe we should have a
Good.
live on people who don't like us and how we handle them when we still have to interact with them.
I know,
I
right?
ask open-ended questions. How's this going? How's that going? Tell me about this. Oh, it's fine. It's good.
Good.
Next.
And you say, good. Glad it's good.
And that's it. And then we sit there in silence and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't understand. We could be
Yeah.
friends.
What does she like to do? Does she cook?
Yes.
Maybe ask her like how she made things, so that way she has to give you step by
do.
step.
I do.
I feel like
Just
Oh,
I'll
I
fax,
know. You
I'll
tell me it
fax
all.
it to you in 2 days.
You've been
I
doing
don't think we
this
can
for years.
suggest anything Jen hasn't done yet. I think
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
feel
so.
like
Thank you,
y'all are
Jerome.
trying to fix Jen's relationship.
We are. We're
Jerome
really
is
fixing
spot
it right
on.
now.
There's nothing you
there's
could
no
suggest
coaching
that I
on
haven't
that.
already tried. I've tried everything. So
All right.
So moving to the coaching space. Let's
Mhm.
move this to the coaching space. We touched on it a bit. And before I share like my experience with it or what like how does this come up for clients? as coaches, there's no such thing, right? We're going to listen to that is the basis. But how does this relevant for our clients?
So clients might feel like if they're aware they're the kind of person who overshares sometimes, they might run the opposite direction and close up. They might be pretty wary of sharing things with the coach because they feel like they've been shamed in the past or have felt like they've overshared and they don't want to do that. So instead they're giving one. Maybe your mother-in-law is just really shy and she doesn't want to overshare with you, Jen. Maybe she's scared to open up.
To just me?
Oh my gosh.
To just you. Maybe you intimidate her. Anyways, but that might be what's going on in the client's mind. So that's one of the ways it could show up in coaching.
I mean, I think, yes. I think it could also show up, for the client, like in the moment, then when they get emotional. I mean, I know for a fact a lot of folks who have gotten emotional, well, hello there, Rosebud, have sat and gotten emotional with me. They might have a moment where they apologize for crying, or they apologize for getting emotional and saying, I'm sorry, I'm getting, and it's interesting because like there is a few ways to handle that, right? Like in that moment, as a coach, how do we handle that? Not the client crying. We know the answer to the client crying. We let the client cry, but how do we handle it when the client apologizes for their emotion or their vulnerability? How do we deal with that or how do we handle it as a coach?
I mean, various ways, I think, you know.
Yeah, there are a few different ways. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I would say is thank you for your concern. I don't need an apology. I appreciate the honor of you trusting me in this moment. I mean, that's kind of the basic of any of the directions.
Yeah, I think Lisa put
Please cry. I love it. I live for your tears.
You could also ask into it. Do you feel that there's something to apologize for? You know, or tell me about why you're apologizing. You know, just general curiosity.
Yeah.
Like you could go that route too.
I like that. Yeah, that's good. I know the first thing in me, like my first instinct is to always be like, oh, no need to apologize. There's no need to apologize. But I also don't, I could see how I like Jen's approach better. Well, tell me why, I mean, what made you feel like you had to apologize?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that opens up a door, like, in a big way. So
I think especially if it's a pattern, you know, and it's a pattern that's something they keep apologizing for, definitely a good thing to inquire about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I have definitely felt vulnerable after coaching, for sure. Like I've had moments after coaching. I don't think I've had I have had one moment where I had the regret. Like I wish I had not shared in that coaching session with that coach, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then I've also had just that, like, there's a lot of things that come up, like when you're coaching, if you're coaching in spaces where there's emotion attached, I definitely will feel raw and vulnerable after a coaching session, a good coaching session, like one that's got to something deep or got to something, we figured something out. Or if I'm coaching in a space that where I feel vulnerable, that will definitely, I mean, we have to like sort of peel back all these layers, right? And it can feel very, you can feel very raw after that.
Yeah. I'm smiling because I'm thinking about like sessions with Lisa and Misha where like they are asking into these things that I'm showing that I don't want to go there, but I do anyways. And it's raw is a good word for it. I never regret it because there's always something useful that comes of it. But man, it's like nails on a chalkboard in the moment. My whole body is like fighting it.
Mm-hmm. And then like afterwards, man, I learned a lot, and like I want to like nourish myself after that. You know what I mean? Like I just do what I need to recover and feel better. I have had a moment though where I shared with a coach and I was in a vulnerable space, and I feel like that coach had an agenda and I didn't realize it until I was already in the vulnerable space. And then it came up for me that the coach was coaching with an agenda, and it was like there was leading questions, there was suggestions, and I was already like open and vulnerable at that point. And what that did was immediately make me shut down, like sort of fake it till I could make it to get through the rest of the session. And then afterwards be like, I never want to coach with this person again. Like immediately I was like, I never want to coach with this person again. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel authentic. I felt like they were coaching for their own agenda. And in the moment, I think it really like shut me down. I mean, it fully shut me down to ever wanting to coach with them again. I was like, nope, don't want to do that ever again. I even talked to Lisa about it.
When you say coaching for their own agenda without being specific, what does that mean?
So this particular coach was coaching a certain group of people, like we were coaching professionals and creative professionals and people of that nature, right? And wanting them to like, you know, open up and expand and, you know, things like that. And instead of listening to me and what I was saying, they were guiding me in the direction of what their overarching goal of what they were coaching and who they were coaching and the kind of client they were coaching. And so instead of listening to me and asking into my authentic things, they instead were like guiding me in specific, in like directions they felt like I needed to go in my career, in my, you know, life, in my whatever it was. And it was just, it felt very much like it was to serve their agenda. And so that I could fit in there what they think they're the kind of client they coach is box.
Yeah. Sounds like someone coaching with an ego is what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Whoever this person is sounds like a real a-hole.
I don't think they went through our school. Let's be honest about that.
Maybe.
Well, they may have, but they didn't.
You know, we can change the subject. We're getting into that oversharing territory where this is how you skillfully navigate oversharing is changing the subject.
But of course.
So at that
right.
point I was like, I never want to do this again. And afterwards I felt vulnerable. Like I felt like I wish I hadn't gone into that session. I wish I hadn't done that session. And I knew categorically I never wanted to do it again. And I never did again. And that coach definitely wondered why. And I didn't feel the need to tell him.
Right.
So,
right.
So yeah. But it was definitely in a space where I was like, oof. And that's why now I really appreciate, and it's something that is so important to me as a client, that my coach doesn't lead. Because having been led in a time when I was really vulnerable, I ended up going to therapy after that. I was like, I think I need to just do therapy and not do coaching. Like, I think I need to do therapy for a while and not do coaching, because it was like, because I was in a vulnerable space and I didn't feel safe. And that triggered stuff in me, like stuff came up from that, like this, like feeling vulnerable and then feeling like I was not in a safe space when I was in a vulnerable state. And then that for me brought up trauma stuff. And so then I was like, I need to go, and I did therapy after that for a while. I was like, no, I'm not coaching at all. I'm doing therapy until I get through whatever this trauma response stuff was that came up. And so that was like, that for me is like why it's so important that I have a coach that is not leading me, you know, that is listening and not guiding me. Because if I am open and vulnerable, and then I feel like you, having been somebody that was with a narcissist, has dated narcissists, had some very traumatizing experiences with narcissists, if I'm in a space where I am vulnerable and I feel like I'm being pushed or led, that is like red flag city for me. And so I will run the other direction. So it's more than just like ICF's framework. For me, I feel safest in a coaching space.
I think that is so
like a real coaching space.
So interesting and so very true what you're saying. To feel in a safe space, to not have somebody judge you and tell you what you should be doing, I think is really a sign of a really good coach who's really listening to you. And you're giving the example of a coach who clearly did not.
Well,
They
it
weren't.
was interesting. I didn't feel judged necessarily, even
Yeah.
though they were making a judgment.
Yeah.
It's that they were self-serving. Like
Yeah.
it's that I was being open and vulnerable, and then they were serving themselves in that moment. Like they were having an agenda for themselves and for what they wanted, instead of holding the space for me and my vulnerability.
Yeah.
And so that was like so rubbed me the wrong way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because here I am, like I'm I've peeled all my skin off, and instead of just holding me there and being there with me, you're now have I'm feeling manipulated. I felt manipulated, really, is what,
Yeah.
if I'm going to be honest.
So would it be accurate to say then, like when you are with a client and they start to be comfortable enough to be vulnerable and or overshare, it wouldn't be oversharing in this case, but the client might feel like they're oversharing and being vulnerable. That's kind of like those make it or break it moments in a coaching relationship. Like how you act as a coach in that moment can really define the rest of the coaching relationship, or implode it.
I think it's true for. I think
that's
that's true
in
for a lot
real
of
normal relationships too.
even normal relationships. If somebody opens up
Yeah.
and is vulnerable, how you respond to it is going to be very important to that person. And so,
Yes. God.
yeah. And so here I am in a space with a coach who I'm paying money to, that's trained, and I'm supposed to be safe. Like if it's just somebody I know, some Joe Schmo off the street, and I've opened up, I can't have an expectation that they know how to handle that, or they're not going to have an agenda. But in a coaching space, there's that expectation.
Right.
And so to have that expectation violated was even worse for me. Like that was for me even worse of a thing. And so like I think, yes, what you're saying is so important for us as coaches, to do that, because mind you, I'm highly attuned to it now.
Yeah.
But also, you as a coach are responsible for, like, if you have somebody who's not highly attuned to it and they're in a vulnerable space, you could manipulate them more easily, right? Like they're open and vulnerable. You as a professional, especially if it's somebody who's got trauma, or they got something that's coming up. I mean, mind you, we're not treating trauma, but there might be tears, there might be that you need to know how to handle that, and handle it in a way that is going to do good for the client, right? Like not just don't do harm, but also do good.
And the points you're bringing up, a lot of new coaches think that that's what people want and or need, is someone to really just have an ear and then tell them what to do. And sadly, that is like the last thing they need you to do. They've got enough people in their life and their world sphere of they can go to and get that, either co-sign the BS or get opposite. They have people in their world that they already know who to go to get that. They don't need their coach that they're paying either money and time and energy to start telling them what to do, right? This is an empowerment experience, and an empowering experience, you coach don't take center stage. The client completely takes that center stage. And coaches sometimes think that if they share their perspective, to me, that's totally oversharing in that client world.
That's a good good segue into what if the
Yeah.
coach starts to overshare in
Exactly. Yeah. What happens if me as a coach, I accidentally overshare? Oh, shoot. Which can happen, especially in your first coaching. I know all of us have done it. We've finished a session and we've gone, oh, crap. I should not have said
Yes.
that. I should not have.
Yes, I have done it because so I'm trying to connect with the client. I'm trying to have shared humanity with the client. I don't want to come across as, too professional, too cold, right? I'm trying to have real, genuine connection. And in the beginning, there were times when it's like, if the client asked me how I am, I was a little too honest a couple times, and that didn't feel good. And I learned the hard way after like massive, overthinking and like, oh my God, like I can never do that again. What went wrong? Okay, giving myself grace for doing it because I was just trying to connect. But what are we learning from this? Like the whole hangover process, right? Um, yeah, it
Yeah.
happens
I'll
in
say
the
like in
beginning.
the beginning, like my ADHD brain, like I can like it'll go two ways with me. I'm either sliding in on a banana peel or I'm there like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour early just to make sure I'm on time. And I definitely like learned that I need to like plan if I can to be in my space before my meeting
Yeah.
long before I'm supposed to, so I can like reset. Because otherwise, yes, I've actually, how you doing? Well, I just sat down and wrote, and it just
Right.
like out of my mouth, and then I'm like, oh crap! Now I'm
Yep.
not professional. I'm sharing my crap with them, and
Yep.
like I need to not be doing that right now. This is about you, and that's
Yep.
what I mean. Mind you, I can beat myself up afterwards, but the way that you handle that when that happens as a coach is go just to do the reset. This isn't about me. This moment is about you. You've paid for your time. Everything is good. Let's talk about you. Like, and that's all you have to do. Like, you don't. It happens, right? You can give yourselves grace. You can extend yourself grace, and you can that easily pivot back to the client.
So the question I have is because we're also told to be vulnerable. How are we vulnerable in a place where we aren't sharing this information that you all are just speaking about?
I think it's vulnerable to share what's coming up for me, having no idea if it's going to resonate, if they're going to think what I just said was crazy, if they're going, if it's going to hit a nerve and then they're going to start crying. I don't know what's going to happen. So that feels vulnerable for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's letting go of that ego of like that. I might be wrong. I might be. Am I going to be wrong? Am I going to ask the right question? All of
Yeah.
these things that are all ego, right? Well, it's all of us wanting to do a good job, but that's our ego coming forward and being present. And how we be vulnerable as a coach is to let go of that worry and just be present and just ask the question, whether or not it's the right question, or make, the observation, whether or not you were wrong, but make it with, out attachment. And that's where you get to be vulnerable as a coach, is you're just taking the chance, like, because you want to do a good job, right? We want to do a good job as a coach. We don't want to screw up. We don't want to mess our clients up. We don't want all of these things that come up. And so we have to take that moment and let go of that and just like be okay with whatever's going to happen in that space, which is vulnerable and scary, right? We can't control the space so much. We have to go along with the client, and it's an adventure, and we have to be willing to do that. And there's vulnerability that when we have to trust our client and trust that our client knows, instead of us trying to control the situation, which is what the coach who has all the answers is doing. The coach who is trying to solve the client's problems is doing. What are they doing? They're trying to control the emotion of the client. They're trying to control the journey of the client. They're trying, and all of that is not being vulnerable. The coach that's vulnerable,
it's under the heading. Under the heading is I'm just trying to help.
I understand that, but you're not being vulnerable.
No,
you're not. You're all ego. It's not being vulnerable. It's being. It's being the opposite. It's being like, I'm big and strong and I'll save you, right? Yeah. Like I can save. That's the fixer. And the vulnerable coach goes, I don't have to save anybody. I don't have all the answers, and can let that ego go.
Yeah, I'm just a
that's
thought partner, right? I'm not an expert. I'm not a guide. I'm not a guru of any kind.
And that's scary as crap for people, especially if we have coaches that come in and they come and take our classes and they go, well, if I don't have that answers, if I don't have the advice,
Mhm.
what am I? Like, what good am I? What, this is where all of their self-worth is coming from, coming in. And that's not a vulnerable space at all. It's like the I am the guru space, which is not.
Yeah.
The guru isn't vulnerable.
Which,
They're
like,
usually
whether
not.
or not you're an expert in the subject material or not, it doesn't make a bit of difference. You still don't know, and you're approaching the client not knowing their situation or knowing how best to help them. The vulnerable, honest coach at least admits that to themselves and knows going into the coaching relationship that they don't know, but they're here to partner and work with their client, and the client is the one to inform them of these things, and then the coach can question and help them make those decisions. But the expert, advice giving fixer coach, they don't know that they don't know, and they've built up that wall of expertise as a way to make themselves less vulnerable to being, called
Yeah.
out as
So true.
being a fraud or being incompetent or being, just not good enough in any way. But that's just not the case. You have to admit to yourself that you don't know, and that's okay. That's part of the skill of being a good coach, is owning that and then working with the client. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Honing the ability not to know, right?
Mhm.
Like it's a skill. Like, it's a skill we teach as coaches. We teach this
Yeah.
skill of being okay with not knowing.
And if that's, a new place, it's learning to be uncomfortable in that learning of not needing to have the answers, to being, you don't have to be the engineer of somebody else's life. You can be the engineer of your own life, but somebody else has to be the engineer of their life.
Mhm.
And it becomes very freeing after you start to let it go. It does. It becomes, I don't have to
Yeah.
go into this with all the answers. I
Yeah.
just have to go in knowing how to coach.
Yeah.
So like, I think we are coming towards the end of our time here. I think we've done some really good stuff. I apparently have a notification from Alexa. So the next, I just want to ask, sort of as our final thoughts, like, how do you guys like reset yourself when you've had that like vulnerability hangover moment? Like, how do you make yourself feel better? What is your method of sort of getting through that vulnerability hangover moment?
I go to the gym. I want my confidence back, so I go to the gym.
I will bury it deep down inside into a hole with all the other things that I try to forget. And I try to do better next time. And maybe I'm a bad person to ask this question, so nobody actually do what I'm doing. It's just be more prudent with the things I share with people. I don't know. That's it. I don't have a good answer.
So I have a variable. It depends on what process I need. I can go for a walk. I can talk to another trusted person about my feelings. I can write. Those are the three things that come off the top of my head. Or I could just put it aside and go, chalk that up to a learning experience, and let's learn how not to do it again.
Yeah, I kind of do a mix of all of the above, except for Anthony's. I don't do that. But yeah, I usually will give myself intentional time, but with a time limit. So the hour that I'm gonna go work out, I'm gonna allow myself to ruminate. I'm gonna allow myself to overthink. I'm just gonna let it go, and then after that hour, I'm gonna we're gonna quiet down, and I'm gonna reassess, and I'm gonna see, was there anything of value to take? What's the lesson? And move forward. But I'm typically going to allow some overthinking and do it without judgment, because that's something I do.
Okay, so all the things I do, I will panic and quickly send a text message to whoever I overshared with, apologizing for oversharing and asking them to forgive me and telling them I'm not crazy. I will.
I have been there. I have been there.
my and it's so funny. And then after that, my gut response is, and then I will comfort myself with food. But I don't do that anymore. So now the healthy things I do. Those are like, that was like, this is, you can see the first in an unhealthy response, and then perseverate and talk to myself and not sleep. And so now if I'm doing healthy and sane, Brooke, and not comforting yourself with food, Brooke, I will probably talk to people about it. I will find trusted, safe space that I can share about my oversharing and have like a back and forth so that I can work out, okay, that wasn't so crazy, that wasn't so, well, maybe it was this, and just have the ability, I sort of go to the people that I trust and I already have rapport with.
I like how your reaction is the exact opposite of mine.
Bounce off of things with them. What?
Where your response to oversharing is to keep sharing.
Keep sharing with other people. Yeah, exactly. With the people that know and love me and get me and know that I'm an oversharer and will talk me through it. And I'll come out the other side and I'll feel better about it.
The exact opposite reaction that I have, which is if I feel like I overshare, let's bring it in.
That is how Lisa and I connected early on, is like, if anything, we're gonna over communicate. Like if anything else, we are gonna over communicate. We're just gonna say everything and say it over and over again, and it's just what we do. And I have gotten better about that. I've had to curb that. I've definitely been somebody who's overshared. I've been a trauma dumper. I've done it all. And I have now gotten better about a lot of it. But I still have my safe spaces with certain people that I can just be a mess with, and we'll tap into those people after I feel like I have had a vulnerable oversharing type moment, for sure.
Yeah, those spaces are important.
And they're so safe feeling, right? It goes from this space where I feel so vulnerable and so like, what did I do? And to like this like warm embrace kind of, where it's just like, okay, this is gonna be okay because I have these people here no matter what. and it'll be okay. So yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. I think, did we all share? Did we
One more. I got one underrated one, possibly. Listen to some music too. I like to do that. Just let my emotions kind of just fall out. And
yes.
Do you choose music
super empathetic though? So like, it's got to be the right music.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not gonna put on Skrillex or something like that after a situation.
Do you choose music to set your mood, or do you choose music that is aligned with your mood?
To allow myself to let those emotions run free and true, and just kind of let them get out of my system.
Okay, so kind of the second one then.
I choose music to set my mood, for sure. Like if I'm going to teach a class, like I'm gonna put on music that makes me groove, makes me happy, makes me excited. I used to listen to a lot more angry music, and I used to be a lot angrier. And I'm not so angry. So I know whatever I put on is gonna directly affect my mood. So I choose with intention.
All right. With that, we'll sign off. Thank you guys for showing up. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And if you want to share the appropriate amount in your life coaching, take our classes, Coaching 101, 102, where you'll get hands-on experience as both the coach and the client, and you'll share to your heart's content and be shared to in a safe and warm and loving space. All right. We'll see you guys again next week. We're still doing the being human.
I think are we?
It's the last Tuesday of the month.
Yeah.
Yes, we've got one more week though. We've got one more week. We've got one more topic I want to cover. So
Gotcha.
Okay.
There was
I've
some
been
good
doing
stuff.
this for like 6 weeks.
I know.
What? Really?
They're good
It's like-
topics.
They are good. I like these topics.
Yeah.
And
It's
people
really a
are
good topic.
responding to that. I really like it. So yeah.
What do you
Okay,
know? We know how to talk about being human. Crazy.
All right. We'll see you guys.